and the ability to define the constitutional order in these countries have been very, very daunting. So all of these things are coming to light as discussions will perhaps proceed this afternoon here in Lungay. Now, the return of countries that have stepped away from ECOWAS as well remains one of the organization's major challenges, aside from the coups that have been happening in parts of Africa. So Mauritania, which left ECOWAS in the year 2000, if most of you would remember, remains connected though through other means. They've been invited to this summit. I'm not sure whether the representative will get to know that in time, but they've been invited to be a part of this particular summit. They're still hobnobbing, they're still interacting. They're still caressing with ECOWAS, even though they pulled out in 2000. So they've been invited. I'm sure perhaps this particular attendance would, strike a closer cooperation or collaboration, if you like, between Mauritania and ECOWAS. So our eyes are also glued on that. So, as the leaders gather here in Lungay, Sierra Leone, the summit will test whether indeed ECOWAS can remain a bridge between its members, that is, those who are subscribers, who are members, of ECOWAS, or perhaps a bureaucratic bottleneck altogether. So all of that is happening, and but we would like to discuss something particularly, which is there is what we call the West Africa Health Organization, WAHO. Now, that particular organization is a branch, it's an attachment, if you like, a subsidiary body under ECOWAS, which is the overarching body, the Economic Community of West Africa States. So that particular body is responsible chiefly for health emergencies across Africa. But a lot of people would say they've been silent, so we shall be asking these questions, whether indeed WAHO will become quite formidable, because for the most part, as most of you would have seen, ECOWAS is heavily reliant on the World Health Organization whenever, diseases, pandemics or epidemics strike. So we shall be asking these critical questions, whether indeed, that particular body or branch under, ECOWAS will become formidable ever. But I'm not alone here, actually. I'm joined by my colleague as well, Fabian Swill, who is here, and we shall be running commentary live through to you this afternoon.
Right, so we're still here at Lungay, and the session for today is just about to begin. But before we move to the sessions coming up today, for our interview now, we have been joined by the country's Minister of Finance, Sheku Ahmed Fantamadi Bangura. Please, good morning. Thank you very much for catching time to join us this morning.
Good morning.
So that our president is the chairman of ECOWAS, it has given many of you leadership positions within the ECOWAS bloc.
Yeah.
Enlighten the public, as Minister of Finance in Sierra Leone, how strategic is your role now in leadership within the ECOWAS, that our president is the chairman?
So I'm the chair for the Common Currency Convergence Council of Ministers, who has leadership to spearhead and push forward the commitment of the heads of state for ensuring currency integration, monetary integration in the whole of West Africa. Of course, trying to ensure that both the WAMI and the UEMOA structures are blended into one that will lead to the establishment of a common currency structure in ECOWAS. They had a deadline for that, which is to make sure that by the 2027, the common currency will come into fruition.
And last year, for the 68th session, the presidential task force responsible for the single currency, the ECO, was sort of recommissioned or revived, for lack of a better way to put it, with again next year 2027 being the deadline.
Correct.
So from last year, the 68th session, to where we are now, 69th session, what's the progress in reality to ensure that the 2027 deadline to launch is met?
So those are going to be part of the report to the commissions for decisions to be taken. on many things. One, hosting of the headquarters and allocation of institutions that will be relevant for the management of the entire monetary union itself. So payment system architecture, where should that institution sit? Where will the fund sit? The ECOWAS Stabilization Fund, where it will sit. The bank itself, where it will be headquartered. Those are decisions to be taken. And once those decisions are taken, now, and therefore there has been a lot of groundwork that has gone into it. We've been doing convergence surveillance, and we've been thinking about how to ensure that all these economies, really their macro fundamentals, are right to make the solid foundation for the establishment or the decision to be made. So 2027 is the date. We are doing all what is required for that date to come to fruition, and therefore we put forward readiness for certain decisions to be taken by the heads of state. So we are working on the task that has been given. The Presidential Task Force is going to do its work, and we're going to report to them on the decisions they must take to make sure that that date becomes a reality. So we will give them what they need to take the decisions politically to establish the union or the bank and the currency by the date that they had proposed. That's where we are. So that's a decision for this summit, and then maybe there will be a pronouncement after that. But that's a decision for them to take.
For clarity, are we expecting that this summit, again, today is the last day of the media summit, is today's session expected to bring word, outcome on the as you've said earlier, it takes political will to get us to get to the 2027 deadline to launch. Is there expectation that this summit would end with that announcement?
There will not be any announcement different from the date that has been set up, because there are tasks to be completed, and the Presidential Task Force has tasks to be done. Those tasks will guide that decision. So the 2027 date is the date that we are working towards. There's no new date that's going to be pronounced. There are decisions to be taken to make sure that that date comes to fruition, and that will continue. So 2027 is the date. No new date will be pronounced. Decisions will be taken on the operations of the task force, and that will allow for the next summit for concrete pronouncements to be made.
All right, thank you very much, sir. We'll continue the conversation much later. What we're just doing is just, short interviews and recaps and highlights and just brief conversations with them for now, and much later on, obviously, in our subsequent editions on the Wake Up Sierra Leone program, AYV on Sunday, this day, other conversations on AYV, we would be able to expand on these conversations as well. We're going to have some interview opportunities, one-on-one interview opportunities with some of the dignitaries here, and we would expand on these conversations as we continue. This is Wake Up, this is AYV here. We're so used to our Wake Up Sierra Leone and AYV on Sunday. This is AYV television and radio. Please stay tuned throughout the day as we'll be bringing you live coverage of activities here live from Lungi.
Thanks indeed. I've also been joined on set this afternoon, this morning, by the Attorney General, the country's Attorney General, and would like to know, basically, Mr. Attorney General, we've seen the former President, Ernest Bai Koroma, arrive this morning. What does this mean?
Well, it means that he's free to be back in country. He's always been free to be back in country. But you'll recall that when he was arraigned before a magistrate over 2 years ago on allegations of being involved in charges relating to treason or misprision of treason or harboring, he was granted bail because he sought leave of the court to attend to his health, to get medical treatment abroad. So he was always free to come back. But the big decision, as we all know in the country, is that a few days ago I filed papers by law, to discontinue charges against him. And so as a result of that decision, if you look at Section 45 of the Criminal Procedure Act, it means if a suspect or an accused person is on bail, then immediately all bail conditions are rescinded and he's free to return to his normal life. So I think that is what the former president has honored, and he's back in country. But he's not just back in country. by way of a return. He's back in country because His Excellency the President, noting the decision that was taken by my office to discontinue charges, and of course the resolution that was tabled and adopted by members of Parliament. His Excellency also chose to invite him as a policy government position, to invite him as a guest to attend the ECOWAS summit that we are here for at Lungi. So that is why he's back in country.
Let's also discuss security in the sub-region. Well, let's say law and order in the sub-region. You head the committees what's your position basically in ECOWAS at the moment, because our president serves as chair?
Well, noting that the president is the chair of the authority of heads of state and government of the ECOWAS region, by extension, I, as his Attorney General and Minister of Justice, I serve as the chair of justice ministers across the region. And of course, when we talk about justice, our approach to it, under His Excellency's leadership and me being chair, is that justice needs or justice systems, even though they are different, they are connected in the region. They are tied to security. They are tied to how people carry on their daily lives. They are tied to how economic activities operate in the sub-region. And so if we just focus on building justice systems in one country and ignore the others, there will be spillover effects, if things don't work in other countries. And so that is why the approach has been joint security, joint investment in justice reform. And so we can all live together as a community. We have been taking steps to strengthen the mandate of the African Court to ensure that states are able to comply with human rights obligations and with decisions handed down by the ECOWAS Court. We have also talked about a people-centered justice system, noting that we need to design justice systems that will respond to the unique needs of individuals. Because we know that if those systems only respond to the needs of individuals in Sierra Leone and not individuals in Guinea or Liberia, when they move across the border, it affects us. And so we want a people-centered approach to justice delivery that will cover the entire West African sub-region. And so that is how we have handled the mandate of the chairmanship.
Hardly do respect to decisions taken by ECOWAS court. Why is that the case?
Well, implementation or compliance with decisions are never easy. I always like to say that the cases that go to court are legal processes, but implementing decisions of regional human rights bodies are political processes. They are legal, but they are political processes. And of course, we accept that they are about human lives. They are about systems that will strengthen our governance architecture. But take note of that. We sometimes focus on those decisions that have not been implemented. But there are several other decisions that have been implemented, whether it's in Ghana, in Sierra Leone, in Nigeria, in Burkina Faso, in Liberia. Yes, there are records of decisions that have been implemented, but we acknowledge that we need to do better, we need to do more, we need to strengthen the human rights architecture in the sub-region, and compliance with these decisions is one part of it.
Lastly, does it mean, or is that a possibility that the case against former President Ernest Bai Koroma will reopen in the future? Is it possible?
No, we haven't said so. I think we've been very clear. Section 45 very clear. We have laid it out for people to read. I think where we are is that we have discontinued the proceedings against him, and we want to keep it at that, and say that the former president will be treated as a former president. He will be treated as a statesman in this country. That is the commitment that President Bio has made, and that is the commitment that he will honor.
Thank you so very much indeed. Obviously, he's the country's Attorney General and Minister of Justice speaking to us this afternoon. My colleague Fabian Swill will continue the interviews.
Yes, it's such a beautiful time here in Lungi, and it is the ambience itself, the band, the police band has been really good since yesterday. It's been giving us good performances from time to time. They're really, really good. But now we're going to have another interview, and with me now I have Dr. Leonard Umar Bangura. He is Doctor of Philosophy and a lecturer at the Political Science Department at Froabe College. Father Leonard, as mostly or popularly called by many. Dr. Bangura, thank you very much for joining us here this morning.
Thank you, Sue.
You have vast knowledge we'll tap into this morning. Let's talk about ECOWAS itself. The power of ECOWAS over its member states. How influential do you think ECOWAS is?
actually ECOWAS is actually influential because it is a regional body that is responsible for economic integration, political and social mobility in the sub-region itself. Despite the weaknesses that we are witnessing recently with the secession of 3 of the member states, that is Mali, Burkina Faso and Nigeria, and I fought one Guinea as a question mark. But then the problem is that despite the problem that we have weaknesses, we call it a federation, sort of federation in which we are in power, so to speak. But yet it's influential, especially in the region of regional for economics. Like also when there is any problem within a sub-region, the first protocol is ECOWAS.
But that's not what we've seen in recent times. Take, for example, in Sierra Leone's context, when we had that issue, please step forward a bit, when we had that issue with the local governance from the 2023 elections, it led us to a point of calling on with ECOWAS rulings, ECOWAS court. Some of the rulings they've issued, not all of them the government has adhered to. Reference would you say Sierra Leone gives to ECOWAS?
Yes, as I mentioned earlier on, ECOWAS doesn't have a binding force, so to speak. The only force that we have is the ECOMOG, the military wing of ECOWAS itself that can intervene in military situations. But when it comes to political situations, they are a bit tricky because even though ECOWAS has created what you can call the peer review mechanisms to follow democracies in local governments, but there are loopholes. For example, the reporting of what really operates in the member states is not usually correct to allow ECOWAS to have the power to actually influence. So this is a problem. One of the weaknesses of ECOWAS is this. It follows from what we saw from the OAU and the AU. The OAU initially it had also these weaknesses, and then it was transformed to African Union that was able to address situations. But in my own opinion, despite the weaknesses, we cannot, when we talk about political institutions, we always have problems with them. However, there is a relevance of ECOWAS because it helps to mitigate conflicts, it helps in economic integration and political issues, also in social mobility. So that is why, despite the weaknesses that we are experiencing, ECOWAS is still relevant for the sub-region.
What do you foresee as the future of ECOWAS? That we have 4 of its member states who are no longer members of ECOWAS, and you intimated earlier about even Guinea with the chances of 50-50. It's 1 foot in, possibly 1 foot out. What do you think is the future of ECOWAS?
The future of ECOWAS, according to my estimation, is that these are cracks, we call them. But there is a possibility of them returning if only ECOWAS is able to address the political and the situations that force the 3 Sahel states to withdraw from the organization. So if ECOWAS comes together, for example, they have to tackle the political problems, the security problems of Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali. If ECOWAS actually comes on board, despite the tricky situations there, I think they can still come back. Guinea is an example. For example, Guinea is here already in this ECOWAS summit today. It's a point that they cannot do it alone. Even like the Sahel states, for example, Burkina Faso and Niger, they are landlocked countries for which they need others if they are to exist. So that is why they are only trying to assert their influence, that their issues have not been addressed by ECOWAS. That is why they are pulling out. But if ECOWAS is able to address their issues, politically, security, economic reasons, they will come back. This is my own belief.
Now, let's talk about conflict within countries in ECOWAS. Sierra Leone, as a country, does have an issue with Guinea over Yenga and some other border crossing points, but prominently Yenga. This is something that has spanned for over 2 decades. Yet, both countries are ECOWAS member states. ECOWAS itself, as a bloc, as a body, has not been able to resolve this issue between Sierra Leone and Guinea, yet they are member states.
Yeah, but this is a reality that prevails not only between Sierra Leone and Guinea. We have the Casamance, Senegal, and then we have Bakassi Peninsula with Nigeria. So these are things that are happening that have border conflict issues, which I think
Do you think ECOWAS has the power to intervene and resolve these matters, or do you think it's above ECOWAS?
Well, power is relative. but it has the authority to bring the member states together and say, now let us look at this, let us go back to the drawing board. We had the colonial, I don't want to call them masters, but they created the dispute. Let us address these issues. ECOWAS has capacity, I believe, but it remains the political will for them to come together and bring the member states that are in conflict to say, come, let us resolve this issue together. The political will is what ECOWAS needs, and the courage to tell the facts. So, for example, Guinea, that you have already transgressed, they have encroached into Sierra Leone land. The moral authority ECOWAS has, but the courage, that is what is lacking, in my opinion. They have to come out and say, this is the issue. Let us resolve the issue that country A, you have actually encroached into country B's issue. And if we don't do this, ECOWAS will continue to see a break and cracks in its own organization.
And finally, before I let you go for now, I want you to analyze Sierra Leone's hosting of OAU back then to now hosting ECOWAS Summit this 2026. Compare and contrast both, and let's weigh advantages and disadvantages from a political scientist perspective.
Yeah, from a political point of view, let me start from the positive. It's actually a landmark for us because our own president, Julius Maada Bio, is actually the president, the chairman for this authority of heads of state and government. So for us, coming to Sierra Leone is actually, it puts Sierra Leone on the map. But then looking at, well, some people have been saying, OAU by then in 1980, it depleted the resources of Sierra Leone. But now I don't think it's the same case, because what has happened actually is that Sierra Leone has not taken money, so to speak, from our reserve. Rather, what it has done, it has borrowed. So it should be paid in time. So it's my opinion that it's not going to actually affect as it did in 1980. This is a different scenario. But then looking at it more positively, in fact, for us to have this particular summit here in Lunge and this particular edifice, I mean the conference center here, is going to also throw more opportunities to this region here in Lunge. For example, now we have the opportunity of hosting international conferences here in Lunge, and then if only governments could do some other sacrifice, maybe move 1 or 2 ministries over to here, and then also create the bridge, we can have emptying out of Freetown, and then people will be having opportunity to come over here to Lunge. So there will be enormous opportunities for employment, for job, and every other avenue can be created. So that is why I see more positive strides than negative than how people are seeing the whole thing. That my only concern is what shall be the future of this edifice after this conference. This is why, for me, government should now come together and say, okay, now, what are we to plan about this edifice here after this conference? How can we make it much more marketable? Let us create the bridge. For example,
you mean the Lunge Bridge?
Lunge Bridge, so that people can have access, and ministries, like, for example, the Ministry of Transport and Aviation can have its own base here, so that we can have an opportunity. So that if more people are here, I think this place after this summit can still have a viability. So for me, I am positive about the whole move itself.
Thank you very much, Father Leonard, for joining us this morning for this short conversation. We are still here at the Julius Maada Bio International Conference Center, and today is the 19th, and it's the final day of the mid-year summit. Today we have our heads of states who would be converging here, and the heads of states would be converging here today, and this would mark the end of the deliberation. So the primary purpose of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government Summit is to serve as the highest decision-making body for assessing regional progress, resolving political and security crises, and advancing economic integration. Now, there is quite a lot going on in Africa and within member states of ECOWAS, and today is when the heads of states would sit on these deliberations. By the end of today, conflict, the dispute between Sierra Leone and Guinea, for example, for Yenga and other crossing points. Other countries as well do have these issues. So at the end of today's summit, we would get to know what the heads of state sat to discuss and what the resolutions are. There's still that low-hanging fruit, the ECO, which for about 2 decades we've been procrastinating as a body. Postponements, reaching deadlines, postponing. Last year, for the 68th session, the President Task Force was sort of revived to see this to fruition to 2027 for the launch of the single currency within ECOWAS, which is the ECO. We still have 4 countries who left ECOWAS. And Guinea, there's still talks about Guinea being 1 foot in and 1 foot out. But again, by the end of today's sessions, we would get to know what the deliberations would be with the heads of states and what the outcomes would be for the 69th ordinary session of the ECOWAS heads of states and government.
Indeed, many thanks indeed, Fibian. If you've been following the civil society space as well, you would know Abdul Fatoma is one of the most critical voices, in the civil society space. He has joined us this afternoon. Good afternoon, Abdul.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Quite well. It's a pleasure having you. What are your impressions generally of this program?
The investment is a good one, and what we want as a country, we want a judicious use of it. So since the government has prioritized all the challenging area for this infrastructure, so this infrastructure will be able to raise funds to support those challenging areas. But then if we cannot utilize it properly, maintain it, to sustain it, then it will become another catastrophic project. But what we as a country want, is to emulate this. Doing a record project like this within 4 months, 2 weeks, and then also the record number of people who were employed, during the construction of this project, 1,200, and a capacity of 1,400, and a multi-purpose. It's good for the country and for those who are in show issues to host their event and raise revenue, and it's also good for businesses within the Lunge community and for the country as well. But we just want a judicious use of it. We don't want it to end up like the UU building. We don't want it to end up like the National Stadium. We want it to end up being, a productive thing for this generation and the other generation.
Let's discuss justice across the sub-region. Oftentimes, countries hardly adhere, or implement rulings from the ECOWAS courts. Why do you feel that is the case?
That's just hypocritical of the community. When it's a justice issue, it's not a binding issue, but other protocol issues are binding, and so it's quite challenging. And ECOWAS always feel uncomfortable when civil society across the ECOWAS community talks about these issues. And so it's a concern to us as a right-based organization, and we continue to push ECOWAS to respect their own decisions, their own ruling, and so the community will become more stronger.
Now, beyond the flags, the pomp, the pageantry, and everything that is happening here, what do you think this particular summit will do for Sierra Leone?
It's a significant moment for this country because over, 40 years as a country we have now hosted an international conference in this nature. And even though this one is more smaller than the previous one we hosted, but it brings a spotlight to this country, a spotlight in a positive direction. We have been battling with negative image for far too long and of recent, but this one, it will help to bring the attention that the people of this country required and the respect that it requires. But we continue to ensure that the government of this country continue to be transparent into the transactions of this infrastructure, and we will continue to ensure that the government of Sierra Leone subject itself to accountability.
Finally, let's discuss organization and everything that is happening here. Do you think everything has gone or proceeded very well, or do you think things could have been done better?
Things could have been done better. There are a lot of challenges. a lot of things needs to be done. I hope they will use this as a good opportunity to learn how to plan and organize future conference. But with this one, I mean, there are a lot of challenges from logistics, transportations, sitting accommodations, and several other. But I mean, a country that has not organized an international event of such nature for quite a long time, even older than some people who are viewing us, it's quite a challenge. But I hope the government will go back to the drawing board and actually look into these gaps and try to do something much better for the people of this country and the guests that will be attending future events in this country.
Thanks, Indian Abdul.
You're welcome.
He's Abdul Fatoma and is the head of Center for Accountability and Rule of Law here on the Africa Young Voices Media Empire. Phoebe.
Yes, indeed. We would be bringing you some of the dignitaries here to, talk about the summit itself and also talking about the venue, the Julius Maada International Conference Center. But one of the people we have here now to talk to is the leader of the opposition, in Parliament, Honorable Abdul Kagbo. Good morning, and thank you very much for making time to join us.
Good morning, Fabian. Good morning, AYV. Good morning, listeners and viewers all around the world.
Let's start with the infrastructural development here at Lunge. Lunge, historically, as it relates to election results, is a stronghold of your political party, which is now main opposition, the All People's Congress. What does this infrastructural development here at Lunge mean for you as a political party?
Well, firstly, infrastructure should not be determined by stronghold, not stronghold. It should be reflective of the felt need of the people. That was why when we were in governance also, we created lasting infrastructure in areas that were not our stronghold. So as a born and bred of Lunge, I want to express our profound thanks and appreciation to the government of Sierra Leone for this structure here.
What are your party supporters and members saying, being that, again, this infrastructure sits now here at Lunge, home to you people, and you are the MP for this?
Of course, the opposition is concerned also for value for money. This structure cost over $124 million.
What do you mean concern for value for money?
Value for money, whether it's worth the amount. Recently we just came from Abuja, where the president of Sierra Leone, who is the chairman for heads of authority and heads of state, where he launched the massive structure built by the Chinese for the ECOWAS headquarters. And you saw 3 structures. You saw the conference center at the middle. It all cost $56 million. You understand? So you come to ask yourself, but like you say, as opposition, we are not opponents of the development of this country. We are proponents, And when once it's good, we say good things about it. And where we have questions, we ask those questions. So we appreciate the fact that a structure like this is built here. You understand? But again, we have to question the amount that is used to build the structure.
When you say ask questions, and now you're questioning the value for money, how would you be channeling these questions beyond just engaging the media?
That is why we are in Parliament. That's why we are in Parliament. So we're going to do due diligence. But like I said, the summit is very good for Sierra Leone. The mere fact that Sierra Leone is taking a center stage, we now have the chairman for the heads of states all around the sub-region. To us, it's a blessing as a country. And for this conference to be hosted in Sierra Leone is also a blessing. And like we say, we are not a destructive opposition. That is why we are all here, to make sure that we complement the efforts of government and we express our total willingness to work hand in glove in ensuring that the aspirations of government they are achieved.
What impact do you envisage this summit, hosting the ECOWAS Media Summit, would have on Sierra Leone as a country?
Well, firstly, we have the leadership of the community. If we have the leadership of the community, Sierra Leone should be at the center stage of decision making in the sub-region. And you cannot be at the center stage when you don't take bigger responsibility. So this is a very big responsibility, and as a nation we have accepted it, we've taken it, and we the opposition are working hand in glove with government to ensure that we present a very good picture and image, during these stages. But to have a critical decision-making position in ECOWAS as a nation is a blessing to us.
Over 40 years ago, it was under the APC administration that the OAU was hosted. Here we are. The SLPP then criticized the hosting of that summit and how it was done, and history says it contributed to crippling Sierra Leone's economy. Here we are now hosting this. In your assessment, comparing and contrasting hosting OAU then and 40 years later hosting the ECOWAS Media Summit, what would you say are the advantages and disadvantages, the pros and cons of both?
Well, I don't like direct comparison, because we should not be seen too political in everything we do. If it doesn't mean that because SLPP criticized the OAU summit that we hosted, that brought the entire Africa to Sierra Leone. This is just West Africa. That summit brought the entire Africa to Sierra Leone. Even when you are opposing, you should give the good effect of it. That brought visibility. That puts Sierra Leone in the center stage. You have some countries you go to, when you say you are from Sierra Leone, they will ask you, where is Sierra Leone? They don't even know about the existence of Sierra Leone. So once you host the OAU summit, you succeeded in bringing visibility to your country. And this is the same thing now we're doing. This summit, we know we have financial challenges as a country, because this structure, most MDAs are responsible to fund these structures as I speak. The NACIT, NRA, a lot of local revenue has gone into this structure already. But like I say, it is with the intention of bringing visibility to us as a nation.
Let's talk about the discontinuance of former President Ernest Bai Koroma's treason case. Is the APC worried that this is a temporary discontinuance, or do you think this is the end of it? When we had an interview last week with Josise from Ministry of Information, he said President Bio is true to his word. The discontinuance is not temporary, it's permanent. But do you have reservations, concerns or fears as a political party?
I don't, because this is part of the effort made by Parliament in ensuring we put into place parliamentary diplomacy. We've been between the two leaders. We have come a long way. We went to Abuja, we engaged the two leaders, and both of them are extremely sincere in this very resolution. And to me, I am fully convinced that this is the end of the matter.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable, for your time with us this morning. We would obviously continue to have this conversation, especially at the end of the summit, with the resolutions that may have emerged from the session here today. But lastly, before I let you go, how powerful do you think ECOWAS is as a body over its member states? How respected is ECOWAS?
Well, I have had issues with some of the decisions with ECOWAS. I have even used it at the ECOWAS Parliament. Because don't forget, I'm a member of the Sierra Leone's delegation in the ECOWAS Parliament. We've seen on several occasions when the ECOWAS court has taken a decision and member states will not implement the decision of the ECOWAS court. And we've seen in the member states where critical decisions of governance, abuse of constitution, abuse of democratic rights in other African countries, in other ECOWAS member states, including, for example, in Guinea-Bissau, the president had to cancel parliament because he does not have the majority in parliament. In other African countries, in Sierra Leone, you see, so some of these decisions that affect democracy directly are not sorted out by ECOWAS.
Why do you think that's the case? Or in essence, do you think they have the authority to sort these out? Or is it that they have the authority but they're not doing it?
They should have the authority, because every member state is subjected to the community. subjected to decisions of ECOWAS. So I think the ECOWAS should focus, in as much as the community is focusing on integration, we should also focus on good governance, ensuring that president and opposition have very good relationship, and ensuring that the constitution of each country is respected, ensuring that elections are transparent, free and fair, and all of those things.
How best do you think ECOWAS can strengthen its authority, perhaps stamp its authority on member states and have more like a positive influence in a very perhaps proactive way to address issues before they escalate into something that requires something that requires much urgent or stronger intervention to resolve?
That is why more emphasis should be laid on early warnings. The political stabilities of ECOWAS countries don't just degenerate in the twinkle of an eye. They are early warnings, and ECOWAS should take note of these early warnings, make sure that they use mediation to solve the early warnings. It's very important. We should not relax and wait until things degenerate before ECOWAS steps in. In some of those countries in which they had coup d'etats, I'm sure if there had been early warning steps, it would have prevented the coup d'etats in those countries. So ECOWAS should be proactive in ensuring that they monitor the political situation in all of its member states and ensuring positive actions are taken to forestall potential instability in ECOWAS member states.
Let's talk about your impression on the commissioning yesterday of the ECOWAS logistics depot. It sits in Sierra Leone. We're home to that facility. What benefits do you think that has to Sierra Leone, especially in our peace and security? Because they also mentioned yesterday that it has now gone beyond just logistics. It's also expanded to a humanitarian angle as well. What value do you think this adds to Sierra Leone?
In fact, when you go to Abuja, you see the ECOWAS headquarters. You know that for every summit they host in Abuja, for every interaction, meeting of ECOWAS, any activities, it helps to spice up the economy of the state. And it also helps to ensure that they create more employment for their people. And it makes Nigeria the center of critical decision-making process in the community. So the same implies to Sierra Leone. We should have a strategic role to play in the community. And hosting the depot here is a great deal for us because it prevents, possible problems from happening in Sierra Leone because they would situate here, they would locate here.
President Bio is seeking a second term as ECOWAS chair. Does the APC endorse and support his candidature?
The APC is a party that likes Sierra Leone. The APC is a party that supports Sierra Leone. On several occasions, the APC has supported, when we were in governance, we supported the minority leader, who was SLPP, for a critical national position, international position. We supported her wholeheartedly. So the APC wants Sierra Leone to progress. So we would support anything that will push the image of our country to the height we all expect it. Because this is Sierra Leone. We would not be against ourselves.
A message to President Bio.
President Bio, you have a great deal. The mere fact that you are coordinating all Africa, the region, the sub-region. We have seen you gone to other countries where there are instabilities, and we've seen the role that you've played as the chairman. So it should replicate in Sierra Leone. The opposition must not be treated as if we are enemies of the state. In any renowned democracy, there is governance, there is opposition. So space should be given to the opposition to operate, and I like the new trajectory that the opposition and governments are now sitting together discussing on issues relating to the progress of this country, because that was what we missed when we had the 11 years rebel incursion. So now we can solve our misunderstanding on the table, and the demonstration that he has exhumed In the fact that we have now the former president back is a great deal to show how willing he is for a peaceful coexistence between the governing party and the opposition.
And lastly, your message to supporters of the All People's Congress, members and supporters.
To my comrades of the All People's Congress, like you have all seen, we are fully determined to take governance in 2028, and we should be seen as responsible opposition. Responsible opposition because whatsoever that is built on now is what we'll work on. Remember, a lot of infrastructures were built by APC when we were in governance, but when SFPP took over, they didn't destroy them, they worked on them. So also us. Whatsoever we're doing, that is why we are particularly concerned to protect the image of this nation, because it does not belong to one political party. APC may own this country, and the image of this country has to be protected by the All People's Congress. So for us as opposition, let us ensure that we do our best so that we win the next elections through the ballot, and we take governance through the ballot. But we cannot wait until we take governance before we develop this nation. We can help the current government to develop this nation. There is a Creole adage that says, that goat where you get for totes, not wait till you go dirty before you total. Help clean the goat so that when you carry the goat, you know that you contributed in making the goat clean.
Thank you very much, Honorable Abdul Kagbo, for your time with us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
He is the leader of opposition in Parliament, Honorable Abdul Kagbo, and as a member of Parliament, he is there representing Port Loko as well. So he is a very strategic person to talk to about the infrastructural development here in Lunge, the Julius Maada Bio International Conference Center, and also it's home now to the ECOWAS Logistics Depot.
Indeed, Phoebe. A lot of guests are arriving, actually, strategically placed here. I'm left thinking, actually, what do you think, the bloc would be discussing today? There are several issues, actually, from existential threats, for example, coups around Africa, countries not honoring, rulings from the ECOWAS courts, which seem to be the case now. The Attorney General spoke about it a while ago. Also, even the issue of the FGM, female genital mutilation,
Yes, the FGM, let's start with that. It's a very controversial situation as we speak currently, because the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Madam Amina, is calling on ECOWAS to criminalize FGM, and she's saying hands off our girls' genitals. On the other hand, our First Lady Fatima Maada Bio, who has hands off our girls, is still caught up in a controversial web. This pro-FGM and anti-FGM debate, which has not died down, by the way, it's still a conversation. There's still back and forths with that. So she's caught up in that web. And the anti-FGM activists, many of them, Nene Ugatu and the likes, have been saying that the First Lady is pro-FGM. She is supporting FGM, even though she has hands off our girls. And then you have the Deputy Secretary General, Madam Amina, on one hand, calling on ECOWAS to criminalize FGM against girls, saying hands off our girls' genitals. So there's hands off our girls, then there's hands off our girls' genitals. It's quite a controversial situation here, and even though the First Lady and her sister Dr. Sylvia Olainka Blyden and her team have tried to explain repeatedly her stance and her position, the anti-FGM campaigners still maintain their stance that the First Lady has not explicitly, as she has done for child marriage, menstruation and all the things she has championed, she has not explicitly addressed the issue of FGM against women and girls. They say that her dancing with the Sowes during that Bondo and Sunday celebration, and what she said, that she is one of them, she's a circumcised woman, and they have her full backing. They say it's an endorsement to them to say carry on. The First Lady argues that she is a traditional woman, she loves her culture. Just because she said she is one of them doesn't mean she's saying they should circumcise women who are not willing to be circumcised and girls underage. And again, the anti-FGM side, they still stress she has not, as she is known to be very bold and sometimes undiplomatic. She has not explicitly spoken to address that issue sufficiently to give clarity. And then now we have the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations calling on the ECOWAS leaders to criminalize FGM. Looking forward to what the deliberations would be on that, if at all they would have deliberations. Because there are times when leaders, these ECOWAS leaders are the leaders of their countries. Yeah. We've seen instances where leaders ignore completely issues that are raised by their citizens, or people who raise issues, whether they're citizens or not, on issues about Africa. Let's see if they would deliberate on this and what would become the outcome of it.
Indeed, we are hoping indeed that that particular issue will be discussed today. As you've said, it's a very thorny issue actually in Africa, because for us here in Sierra Leone, it's still happening, and there is this web of irony, that surrounds the whole issue, and loopholes, bureaucracy, and everything that surrounds that particular issue. We'll keep our eyes glued on that, and hope that perhaps the leaders would actually discuss this. But I'm more particular about what this newly inaugurated depot and this particular international conference center would have on the existence of ECOWAS generally, and how would it replace Sierra Leone strategically, in the sub-region for trade now, for example, because a lot of businesses are still crying. While ECOWAS was commissioned or established to facilitate smooth trade, liquid trade across Africa, a lot of businesses are crying, especially SMEs, that getting their goods across borders has been one of the most challenging things for them. It's really a very tough situation.
It really is, and especially at the border crossing points, there is this issue of Francophone Africa and Anglophone Africa, the French-speaking African countries and the English-speaking African countries. And sometimes when you talk to the Anglophone, the English-speaking Africans, they will tell you when they're crossing to Francophone Africa, the French-speaking countries, they suffer a lot of bottlenecks with moving their goods and services, regardless of the paperwork that exists for intercontinental free trade. There are a lot of issues. Again, this is not just about the Francophone West African countries, issues that I'm about to mention now, issues of bribery, you're sort of unofficially paying taxes. There are official taxes to be paid, and then there's the bribery. For some of them, it's either you comply and go ahead with your goods, or you don't comply and you're unnecessarily delayed at the border. Imagine for those who have perishable goods, what that does to their goods. So these are still issues that need to be looked into as we move on with the trade. But also, what is to help the trade within the continent is the single currency, the ECO, for beyond, the ECO is not for Africa, it's for ECOWAS countries. But the pressure on currencies is heavier because of the exchange with the USD, the pound sterling, and the euro. But with ECO, when it comes to fruition, it would be able to minimize that pressure, and thereby the expectation is it would stabilize the economy of these countries that would be using the ECO. We've gone about 2 decades back and forth with this, and now there's a new deadline of 2027, which is next year, to launch the ECO. We do have 12 countries that will be present for the summit here today. Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Liberia, the Gambia, Cabo Verde, Senegal, Guinea, Benin, Niger, Nigeria, Guinea-Bissau, Mauritania. Not Niger, I beg your pardon. Nigeria, Guinea-Bissau, and Mauritania. Mauritania had exited.
Yes,
but even though they are no longer members of the ECOWAS bloc, they would be in attendance today.
They were invited. Let's see what perhaps this particular attendance would help, cement the relationship back with the ECOWAS. But there are other stakeholders actually. The United Nations is here. Union, we also have President's Commission, the Chairman of ECOWAS, Commissioner Economic Affairs and Agriculture. We also have the Commissioner International Services, ECOWAS, ministers, agencies and government officials, ECOWAS Special Envoy, the ECOWAS Chief Negotiator. All of these people are here just so you understand the level of bureaucracy that we have, staring at us in the face this afternoon here at the Julius Maada Bio International Conference Center in Lunge. Don't forget to our audiences across the world. You can also view us on DSTV on channel 399. It's our international channel. We also have our AYV app. You download it on Google Play Store or Apple Store for whatever Android, depending on the device you're using. We are also locally broadcasting. We are channel 93. We are also on Facebook. Some of us are already watching us live now. We are also on TikTok, AYV News. We are also on YouTube, wherever. Just log in and ensure you stay glued with the happenings here. There's a lot to discuss actually. The program has actually officially started. Yes, they're still trickling in, they're still coming in. A lot of dignitaries are arriving. They are being escorted to their seats. A lot of vacant tables that have not been filled. At the moment, we're expecting all of these representatives to be seated before the program starts this afternoon.
It's quite an important time. If you follow what's going on, the Afrophobia in South Africa, the South Africans that support the Afrophobia are saying, why are all these other Africans packed in South Africa? Go to your countries and fix your countries. Go hold your governments accountable and get them to fix your countries to a way where it's comfortable for you to live in your country and not just to come and overcrowd our country. But the life of non-South African Africans in South Africa right now is at stake. They are being harassed, they are being brutalized in many ways. Some have even lost their lives. I'm wondering or looking forward to see if that would even form part of the conversation here, even if it's not a main item on the agenda, but just forming part of the conversation to see how, and again, these are legitimate concerns to say, hold your governments accountable so home can be fixed in a way where it's comfortable to sit at home. And talking about home being comfortable, in this era, we've seen the highest number of military coups in the continent. These are all conversations. Again, the agenda is not out. We don't know what the heads of states would be discussing. And because that summit, that part of the conversation would even be a closed-door conversation. But these are legitimate concerns. The welfare of Africans within their countries. Just a few days ago, the EU had a youth engagement at the Family Kingdom, and part of it as well, they had some returnees who were talking about life as illegal immigrants in other countries, whether it's African countries or non-African countries. One of the returnees mentioned that it's quite a deplorable, mentally traumatic, physically troubled experience that they've encountered. He spoke about women being raped. He spoke about men being used for hard labor, unpaid hard labor. He really recounted, he really explained a lot of what they went through. But again, these are opportunities when our leaders sit to talk about how the continent can develop. For them, the ECOWAS summit, their jurisdiction is just within ECOWAS. But again, of course, ECOWAS is part of Africa. But it's about how can they really discuss issues that can further the convenience, comfort of Africans living within ECOWAS states in a way that, yes, no matter how comfortable a country is, the citizens would still have to travel. The most advanced countries in the world, you'll find their citizens in other parts of the world. But it's a way where many of them don't run away in search of greener pastures.
Indeed, most definitely. Most definitely. Now, so over the years, some members have actually departed the bloc. In December 1999, Mauritania announced that it would leave ECOWAS, of course, citing the country's disagreements with the organization's recent decision about common currency, of course, by ECOWAS guidelines. Mauritania submitted its intention to withdraw 1 year in advance, the country's departure was finalized on December 26 in the year 2000. So, they had actually withdrawn from ECOWAS. However, they were invited to be a part of this program. So, we shall be hearing what position they are bringing to the table, and what they will be talking about, indeed. But take a look at African Voices. My name is Victor Jones. Of course, you've also been hearing from
Phoebe Swill.
We shall be back, of course, with more commentaries.
slay with my hair, trust expression. Cause it makes me stay expressive. Do it yourself, don't waste time. I style my hair myself without no pain. Ooh, expressing me, expressing you all day long. For me, it's nothing but expression. Whether it's work or it's play. For me, it's nothing but expression. For my hair, only the best is good enough. For me, it's nothing but expression. High quality and good style. For me, it's nothing but expression. To keep my hair in check. Expressing you, expressing me all day long. Expression, the pride of my hair.
In every part of Sierra Leone, from the mines of Kono to the coast of Pojaun, something transformational is unfolding. It is not loud but powerful. It is not temporary but lasting. This is the story of opportunity, dignity and empowerment. The Productive Social Safety Net and Youth Employment Project is a flagship social protection program launched by the government of Sierra Leone with support from the World Bank and UNICEF. Born out of the urgent need to strengthen resilience, reduce poverty and create jobs, the Productive Social Safety Net and Youth Employment Project focuses on three central goals: protecting the poor and vulnerable through direct income support, empowering youth and disadvantaged citizens through economic inclusion, and confronting the adverse impact of climate change. This project is not just a lifeline, it is a springboard. It builds on the success of previous social safety net programs, but with a deeper, broader, and more ambitious vision. When disaster strikes, it hits the poor the hardest. That's why the emergency cash transfer was launched under the economic inclusion component of the Productive Social Safety Net and Youth Employment. Through the emergency cash transfer, thousands of families across Sierra Leone received direct support, injecting life into rural economies and restoring lost dignity.
The grievance redress mechanism historically and the background is we started off providing support to a World Bank funded program to NACSA, and of course the program is a cash transfer, the SSN, the Social Safety Net program that many people in Sierra Leone would know about. And of course, before we closed down in 2022, it operated in all 16 districts of the country. But of course, the grievance redress mechanism of the Anti-Corruption Commission is not the implementing agency of the program. It's not the implementing agency of the SSN. The grievance redress mechanism is responsible for providing grievance redress independently, looking at complaints of beneficiaries, so that if people are displeased, people are not happy with happenings of the providing of the cash for them funded by the World Bank, the grievance redress mechanism of the Anti-Corruption Commission independently reviews the complaints and provides feedback to the beneficiaries. And as I said, of course, the ACC provides leadership, and the culture of the ACC, the practice of the ACC is that we focus our work through accountability and transparency. So what we do normally is ensuring that the processes are transparent, they are accountable, and those who are participating and those who provide the services meet at a point so that we all understand ourselves for a better delivery. This is what we normally call for project management social accountability.
Our money, they return where they come with our money. Be very unfortunately, and a man died. Me picking the college. I pay me picking college fee. The balance, I pay half the balance. Now will be now be they do business. Now will they live inside. Me and me picking them. Cause then that they don't die. Now we eat inside up till now. And they make that small market we live inside. So I tell Papa government thank you. I want me add more for me able to live. So now that money they help me greatly. That money they help me greatly. So I tell Papa government thank you.
Now my name is Eli. I tell the government thank you for waiting to count and for winning this country. Some of who will not be getting nothing. Man, they don't die. I get about 6 picking them. But this time where they count that money, anyway, I suffer before I get that money. Past 3 to 4 months before I get that money. But I tell Allah thank you where I get that money. We room with the leak, we also broke. But who say what handle that money there? I go buy zinc, I hasten up. Because mama then now we hand it old. For let you know die now we hand with the coal. In back I decide say this before I do anything with that money, I buy zinc. We always be well and make the place. I tell God thank you. I tell Papa government thank you. But still, where I get that money there, it can't be now say me pikin don't see twice. I not get money again. For me them go let them forward the education and the power not they again. I mean one, I mean not the man, I mean not the mommy why they suffer. And they still suffer with them up to this time. And they still appeal to them.
Let me have the airphones. Give me one, please. One, only one. Huh? Auntie? Any moments from now, the events, the staff will get the people inside now. We are the president. Because now we don't see foreign ministers of other countries that don't enter. Ghana, Gambia, I don't see Gambia the foreign affairs minister of other country there. They don't come inside. So any moments from now, we have to see back the arrival of other dignitaries where they come out, other countries where they come. Yeah? They get for anytime they get the events then. They invite other African countries them also. We don't know the part of the ECOWAS. They can invite them for the part of it. When are them to the vice president or the senior person within the ECOWAS, where they send represent them. And so they always. Also, yes, thank you. We are Ali Mubari. We don't stay Canada. So. Hey. Go by that.
Okay, it's a place.
Okay. Then I found my passport.
big one them unite, the small one them go follow. Salona we all country, then we make ya. Now we all country, now we for make ya. So let we unite, Sierra Leoneans, unite, oh yeah, unite for better Salona. Let we unite, Sierra Leoneans, unite, oh yeah, unite for better Salona. Salona we unite, now we unite. Salona we unite, now we unite.
Salon people them.
Salona we unite.
There is no way where we go develop if we not unite.
United we stand, united we go follow. If the big one them unite, the small one them go follow. Salona we all country, there we make ya. Now we all country, now we for make ya. So let we unite, Sierra Leoneans, unite, oh yeah, unite for better Salona. Let we unite, Sierra Leoneans, unite, oh yeah,
King Farah here,
unite for better Salona.
Always. From 1961, we just did by this blame game. We know what we before if we did by this blame game. You the IBS, you know you did by blame game. It's simple enough right now, we all getting bad name. A the point B, B the point C, C the point D, D the point E, 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 E. You the point me the point you the point D. Fight for the country, stand up. For the country, unite for the country, do something for the country. You resist gangs, we don't get nowhere for fake cam. So no sit on a corner that you say you know they take cam. No blame me for something when now we all for make cam. Yourself do you best, this country, let we make cam. Now me and you for support we safe. If I near you, you near me, I be you.
So let we unite, Sierra Leoneans, unite, oh yeah, unite for better Salona. Let we unite, Sierra Leoneans, unite, oh yeah, unite for better Salona.
Everyone got a right and privilege to do the right thing, but I never relent. You got a role to play. Me got a role to play. Remember, peace, unity is a matter of must. If we live together, it go better for us. Be that.
He like you go, so say. Now forget you home. He like you go, so say. You must come.
Slay with my hair, trust expression, cause it makes me stay expressive. Do it yourself, don't waste time. I style my hair myself without no pain. Ooh, expressing me, expressing you all day long. For me, it's nothing but expression. It's nothing but expression. High quality and good style. For me, it's nothing but expression. To keep my head in check. Expressing you, expressing me all day long. Expression, the pride of my hair.
In every part of Sierra Leone, From the mines of Kono to the coast of Pujan, something transformational is unfolding. It is not loud but powerful. It is not temporary but lasting. This
next summit for concrete pronouncements to be made.
All right, thank you very much, sir. We'll continue the conversation much later. What we're just doing is just, short interviews and recaps and highlights and just brief conversations with them for now. And much later on, obviously, in our subsequent editions on the Wake Up Sierra Leone program, AYV on Sunday, this day, other conversations on AYV, we would be able to expand on these conversations as well. We're going to have some interview opportunities, one-on-one interview opportunities with some of the dignitaries here, and we would expand on these conversations as we continue. This is Wake Up, this is AYV here. We're so used to our Wake Up Sierra Leone and AYV on Sunday. This is AYV television and radio. Please stay tuned throughout the day as we'll be bringing you live coverage of activities here live from Lungi.
Thanks indeed. I'm also joined on set this afternoon, this morning, by the Attorney General, and would like to know, basically, Mr. Attorney General, we've seen the former president, Ernest Bai Koroma, arrive this morning. What does this mean?
Well, it means that he's free to be back in country. He's always been free to be back in country. But you'll recall that when he was arraigned before a magistrate over 2 years ago on allegations of being involved in charges relating to treason or misprision of treason or harboring, he was granted bail because he sought leave of the court to attend to his health, to get medical treatment abroad. So he was always free to come back. But the big decision, as we all know in the country, is that a few days ago I filed papers by law, to discontinue charges against him. And so as a result of that decision, if you look at Section 45 of the Criminal Procedure Act, it means if a suspect or an accused person is on bail, then immediately all bail conditions are rescinded and he's free to return to his normal life. So I think that is what the former president has honored, and he's back in country. But he's not just back in country by way of a return. He's back in country because His Excellency the President, noting the decision that was taken by my office to discontinue charges, and of course the resolution that was tabled and adopted by members of Parliament, His Excellency also chose to invite him as a policy government position, to invite him as a guest to attend the ECOWAS summit that we are here for at Lungi. So that is why he's back in country.
Let's also discuss security in the sub-region. Let's say law and order in the sub-region. You head the committees. What's your position basically in ECOWAS at the moment? Because our president serves as chair.
Well, noting that.
Slay with my hair, trust expression, cause it makes me stay expressive. Do it yourself, don't waste time. I style my hair myself without no pain. Ooh, expressing me, expressing you all day long. For me, it's nothing but expression. Whether it's work or it's play, for me, it's nothing but expression. For my hair, all of the best is good enough. For me, it's nothing but expression. High quality and good style. For me, it's nothing but expression. To get my hair in check, expressing you, expressing me all day long. Expression, the pride of my hair.
In every part of Sierra Leone, from the mines of Kono to the coast of Pujan, something transformational is unfolding. It is not loud but powerful. It is not temporary but lasting. This is the story of opportunity, dignity and empowerment. The productive social safety net